What's up, everybody? Howi, Spangler. When I'm out on the road, it's very hard to find good food. It's always truck stops, gas station burritos, things like that. And I always find myself wishing I had a friend I could call to tell me where to eat in every city. Well, the Infatuation is that friend. The Infatuation helps you find the right restaurant for any situation. You're on a first date, you're out on the road, you and a bunch of coworkers want to go out and paint the town, or maybe you just want to go to dinner by yourself. The Infatuation has you covered in all these situations. So if you ever need to find a place to eat but don't want to read through thousands of unreliable crowdsourced reviews, hit up theinfatuation.com or download their free app for iOS and Android to search thousands of restaurant reviews and guides in 22 major cities around the world. Or you can let the Infatuation do the work for you by sending a text to 64560. That's 64560. A real person will respond and help you find a restaurant that's perfect for whatever situation you might find yourself in. So, my artist friends out there, when you're out on the road, hit up the Infatuation app and eat well. No more gas station burritos, okay? For more information, again, it's theinfatuation.com or send a text to 64560. Hey, what's going on? Howie Spangler, Tales from the Green Room, episode number 44. Oh, man, it's been a minute. The whole point of me getting these two mics that I got were to be able to go on the road and do podcasts from the road. And I did one, but then I left my damn MacBook charger at home, so I couldn't use my laptop. So, boy, you know, the irony of it all. Today, First off, I want to say thanks to everybody that came out to the fall tour. We just finished it up a couple days ago. Did the rest of the run with Real Big Fish, and they're always great. And then did a little run down to Florida and back. Thanks to Propaganda for coming out with us on that one. Thank you if you attended the shows. Always a fun time in Florida, man. Janice Live is such a killer venue out in St. Pete, and Jacksonville was a fun way to end it. So thank you once again. We got one more show coming up December 22nd here in Harford County in Bel Air, Maryland at Looney's Pub. So come out to that. It's going to be a shit show, balls to the wall for sure, nuts to butts, whatever you want to say. So get 4 drinks when you finally get up to the bar. Get 4 drinks for yourself. Yeah, looking forward to that. Today I've got my friend Micah Pueschel from Iration. He's a good dude. We had a great conversation. A lot of cool things I didn't know about him and the band. So it was nice to get him on here and get him to chat about it. And I also had him answer a few of the questions that you guys had for him on the old Instagram last week. Some of the questions I got from you, he actually kind of answered in the conversation. So if I didn't get to your question, it probably got answered. And we had a few problems, audio issues. I had to edit a little bit, so it's going to be a little weird towards the end. But I tried to clean it up the best I could. I didn't want to cut too much out, you know. So, all right, everybody give it up for my friend Micah Pueschel from Iration. Micah, what's up, man?
How's it going, Howie? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Doing great, man. Glad to have you on the show.
Well, it's my pleasure to be on the show.
Sick, dude. Right on, man. So how are things? How's it going?
Things are really well. We just finished playing a couple of shows the last 2 nights in Ventura, California, raising money for the Woolsey fire. I don't know if that was a national thing, but it was pretty big, large-scale fire that happened kind of in the Thousand Oaks, Camarillo area, just south of where we live in Santa Barbara. So we generally have done a few fundraisers over the years that kind of tries to raise money for the firefighters and kind of the corporations that do help the firefighters. You know, Direct Relief being the organization that kind of does it. So
that's really great, man. I saw a little bit of that on your socials. Man,
yeah, you know,
that's crazy, dude. Like, it's just seeing the footage out there. I mean, I guess you can't really grasp even, you know, not experiencing it or being around it. Like, I'm sure you can't grasp it. I've been to Cali in the past with fires happening and things like that. And the one last year, back in like December in the Santa Ana, that was crazy.
Yeah, well, we had at the same time that one was going on, we had one in Santa Barbara, like basically right over the hill. It came down into Ventura and kind of wiped out a bunch of like homes and businesses, and then it spread all the way north to Santa Barbara. So, excuse me, we were definitely wearing masks like around town for 2 weeks, and it was like right before Christmas, so it wasn't the best timing.
Yeah.
But yeah, then we had a mudslide after that, so it's kind of been disaster central over here in the last year or so. But that's why we do these shows and try to give back to our community and do the best we can. So
that's really great, man. Using your platform that way, it's not a lot of bands can do that or even think about doing stuff like that.
Yeah, we try.
Yeah, for sure. So, new record is dope, per usual.
Thank you.
Yeah. When did that come out again? It was before summer, right?
It came out on May 25th, I believe, was the date.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always dope. And K-Rock picked it up, press play. That's so rad.
Yeah, that was kind of a huge step for us, and we've been, especially for bands in in kind of the genre that we are all kind of lumped into. We're all such different bands, but when you play together and you kind of come up together, you all end up getting lumped into the kind of like reggae, white boy reggae scene,
for sure,
quote unquote.
Yeah.
Which we're not pretending that we don't play reggae, but like I think there is like if you listen to the bands and you can hear that there's a pretty sizable difference between a large majority of the bands that are out there, and I think for us, we've always said like it's been a goal of ours to get to use radio and have radio be on our side, and I know you guys are in the same boat in that,
sure,
with that kind of strategy, and obviously the Dirty Heads are another band that's kind of in that same boat, 311. So yeah, we made it a goal, and it was really nice to have that kind of like vindication, to feel like people are actually listening and respecting what you're doing. So that was a nice bonus for press play.
I mean, when I started seeing all the polls on K-Rock's Twitter, like they do the whole like new music meeting. Who should we pick or who should we add? And I saw it and I was like, oh, this is fucking great. Like it's, I don't know. I'm always proud and happy to see like people that I know, especially something like that. K-Rock is not easy. And you're barking up that tree your entire career pretty much, and it was just nice to see that, like you guys, the Interrupters,
Yeah, we've been barking up that tree for literally our, almost our entire career, besides, the early stuff. But yeah, and it felt good to finally break through. It felt like we're on having a step in the right direction here, and what we're doing is we're doing the right thing. That's what it kind of felt like. It was like sometimes as a musician or writing and you're making music, you can get lost in the sauce a little bit and kind of overthink things or wonder if you're doing the right thing or you're on the right path. And that was kind of like a good sign that we're on the right path and we're kind of doing the right thing, thinking the right things. So
yeah, I've always thought you guys have had your sound was like good for radio. Like it was an organic kind of thing. It wasn't like none of your music ever feels like forced. Like you'd actually try to write songs for the radio. And I know you say like we've always wanted to be on the radio. Of course, many bands want to be on the radio, but not a lot of bands can like really. I don't know. There's just a certain sound, I've always felt like you and I like have like a similar sort of approach to the songwriting as far as melodies go and stuff. Like you understand what a good melody is and what a hooky, catchy chorus is supposed to feel like. And I've always, and that's been coming through since your first stuff that I remember hearing, over 10 years ago. And so it was no surprise, that you guys were gonna, that if it did happen, I wasn't like, oh my God, that was out of nowhere. I just knew if it was gonna happen to somebody, that you guys were definitely one of the bands,
Well, thank you. And yeah, I mean, I know you and I, just when you listen to our music, melody is a big piece of what we're doing. And, for me, I think that's kind of where my strength lies is really in melody writing. And, I've gotten better at the other, aspects of songwriting and, lyrics and, structure and other things like that. But for me, I think where I really just have, like my biggest strength really as a musician is in writing melody and kind of those little things that kind of make our sound what it is. And, you're I feel like you're kind of in the same, you're in the same boat with me. I think that, your strength is the melodies that you guys write. And I think that you're just on a different musical platform. You guys have a little bit more rocky, edgier sound that has, I know you're a big Green Day and 311 and kind of bands that rock. And
totally.
So I remember that from, when we were touring together almost, 10 years ago. So it's like, yeah, we just kind of we're kind of in the same, we're like brothers, but we came up in like different cities. You know what I mean? Like as far as that realm of songwriting goes. But yeah, I think for me, when I listen to a song, the thing that I listen to most for is the melody first and foremost. And I think that's what most people do. There was like a period in time where I was just like, I don't even think lyrics matter at all.
Dude, have you heard songs from the 90s?
Yeah, exactly. That was exactly what I was going. It's like, I don't think lyrics really matter. I think it's just really about, a hooky beat and a hooky syncopation and a melody. And that's really it. And, I don't think that now. I do value lyrics a lot more now, but I've since changed. But, I do think that it's mostly melody when it comes to songwriting.
Yeah, I feel like, and a lot of times, even in some songs today, but like, it's not so much what you say, it's how you say it. And
yes,
yeah, if you've got that undeniable hooky chorus, you can pretty much say whatever you want, And but I think it's an added bonus when the lyrics actually do mean something and have some depth, to really connect with people, because you can throw out party songs all day long, But exactly. I think a majority of the people, at least a lot of our fans, they would rather hear me talking about, real experiences or things that they can relate to,
Oh, 100%.
Everyone loves the party, but it's like, it's weird how we, like, as humans, like, music is such like it's such a primal thing. It's like we need it, and and even when we're feeling sad and fucked up, like, you still want to listen to a sad, fucked up song for some reason, because maybe it's because it makes you feel like, okay, I'm not the only one dealing with this,
Yeah, I think that's true. And I think that connecting to somebody else that maybe, especially a musician, it's like, if you're listening to their music, it's probably somebody that you enjoy, or and you feel like they understand where you're coming from. I think that's what the biggest thing is like somebody out there understands or is able to kind of sum up the way that you're feeling. Because sometimes people have a hard time understanding their feelings,
Sure.
And it's like, I just feel shitty, or I just feel sad, or, and then this person kind of explains it in a way that's like neat, and it happens to have a good melody, and it's like, the emotion is there, and you're like, oh, okay. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
that's what I was feeling.
You're able to like put it together in this nice little pretty package for them, and they can unpack it any way they want, and it's just, they're like, fuck, that's me,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah, and I've always felt like if a song, listeners know when it's genuine or not. Like you can tell if you're listening to a song, you can tell if, oh, this is just BS. This is some made up story, or this is just some kind of whatever song that the lyrics are just kind of, they don't really have an earnest story behind them, or, you know, a real emotion. I always felt like people really know that. And so it really kind of clicked for me when we were writing the Time Bomb album, you know, like one of our first albums. Because when we wrote No Time for Rest and the kind of stuff before that, we didn't have a clue what we were doing, to just be perfectly honest. Like, we didn't even know we'd never taken a songwriting course or like read about songwriting or understood like what the actual process and like art of songwriting is. And so we were just writing songs like, oh, you have this here, let's make a beat. Okay, let's put some lyrics that sound cool. And a chorus that has cool sounding words in it. You know, it was like, you write songs based on what songs that you've heard and not based on understanding how to write a song. So it was, I think when we started writing new songs, we wrote songs like our early stuff, like Falling and stuff like that, that I wrote at a period in time where like the actual, you know, emotions and things that I was feeling were like real emotions. And I was kind of like, you know, before that I was just kind of drifting around and kind of dead, like kind of just a dead like person on the inside.
Just dead emotionally.
Just a dead emotional person. Like, how, you get that way at certain parts of your life where it's like, you know, you don't have a direction. I had like just graduated from college. I was like just drinking a lot and partying a lot, and I was just kind of floating around. And I think that's when the success of those songs when we first wrote them were like my first like, oh, maybe it's good to have, you know, actual emotion behind a song, or like an actual like feeling driving a song, and that translates because people really like latch onto it when they know that it's real. And I think that's like a really key thing when it comes to making songs and you know, what we've done in our career.
Yeah, I think listeners appreciate the honesty. They can see through the bullshit, you know, and they appreciate the honesty, and they want to relate to it. And yeah, I mean that's like you were saying, like our strengths as songwriters, melodic stuff or whatever. And I think that embracing your strengths and letting your band members embrace their strengths, like let everybody do their job. Don't try to do someone else's job. You know what I mean? Like, don't try to cover everything. You're working with these people for a reason, because they're good at what they do. All the guys in your band are great at what they do. Fucking Joe holds it down back there, you know. Kaysen on the keys, like, and Micah Brown as an addition the last couple of years has been fucking amazing. I think it really took the band sound up even higher, you know.
Yes, I agree. And Micah Brown, and just what we're getting into now as a band is like learning how to write as a group, and write as a collaborative effort, you know, and write with different groups of guys and different pairings, and I think it's important that you are able to do that. I mean, for a long time it was like, you know, Kai and I, when Kai was in the band, it was very much like our job to kind of like hole up and like write a bunch of songs, and occasionally like the guys would, you know, join in on that, and we would write, like, essentially it was like we write songs on acoustics and then we give them to the band, and then the band kind of figures out their part, right? And now it's like the kind of process is a little bit different, where it's like we can all be sitting there in the studio, excuse me, and we can like, everybody can kind of just like put their hands on it in the very early stages, because we work backwards from like, as opposed to working and building it from a acoustic guitar. A lot of the songs that we've done recently, we're building like a full musical track, and then we're like adding onto it from there.
That's cool.
So it's like a different process, and I think that's been key for us, like over the last couple records, is just being able to really give everybody an ability to like fully essentially do their job. What you're saying is like, you know, everybody can play to their strength, and it's like, I think in any business or whatever it is you do in life, like if you set your people up for success, I think it ultimately ends up being a better product at the end of, you know, what you're doing.
Yeah, I feel like Iration is firing on all cylinders. Like everyone's just doing what they're supposed to do, and the songs are coming out great, and more people latching on all the time to you guys, and it's just been insane how much I've seen you guys out there doing stuff over the last couple of years, and now the radio thing, and it's just I don't know, it's just all awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we are too, and I think a lot of that was we've been through, obviously our band in particular has been through a lot of change, and from when we started and when we first met you, like the band was a totally different band.
So true.
Essentially, like we made a different sound. We had a different lineup. Kai and Catlin are part of the band early, and Joe King was on the stage for a few years, and it's like we made decisions that had Joe King become a front of house engineer, and Catlin left early after No Time for Rest, and then Kai was obviously around until right about the Automatic, when we put Automatic. And every time they left, it was a big, like when Kai left especially, it was a big change for us, and we had to figure out how we're going to do this. We were used to having two singers, we were used to having kind of another voice and another songwriter, and he left right at the when we were about to release Automatic. So right when he did it, he's like, "This is a good time, so I'll leave right now, and you guys won't be screwed." And I was like, "Okay, well, I have to go back and cut a bunch of vocals on these songs, because if we put a record out with his vocal all over the album, then we're not gonna be able to play. The songs are gonna sound different when we play them, and so on and so forth." So a lot of the songs on Automatic were songs that were initially Kai's kind of vocal, and I had to go back and cut them last minute. So that was kind of an interesting thing. And I think it took us a couple of years, and we kind of Automatic. I loved the album. I loved working on it and working with people like Lincoln Parrish and people that were in a different realm than us really musically. And it was a cool experience. But at the end of it, I think it took us almost 2 years or 3 years to really figure out what we were doing after Kai left. And I think when we added Micah Brown, that was really what we needed. We needed another guy that could sing, another guy that was a really strong songwriter, and obviously somebody that was a really strong musician.
Yeah, he shreds.
Yeah, so we always said, if we're going to add musicians to the band, we should be adding musicians that are better than we are, so that we can,
Totally.
so that it ups the level of the band, and then that's always my philosophy is I don't want to add a guitar player that's shittier than I am. I want to add a guitar player that pushes me to get better and to be better, and it lifts the overall musicianship, and I think that he definitely fits the bill. So he's been good. It's been great. He's he and I, he fit right into the band, and kind of, it was seamless, and we work really well together in the studio. He has a really keen ear for songwriting, and he's kind of a studio rat with Lou at 17th Street. He's been working with him for years, so it's he knows the process of being in the studio. He's really up the studio game overall of the band. And I think that's been a huge piece of what has made us, grow over the last two records.
That's great, man. Yeah, it definitely takes, when you were saying earlier about, you had no idea what the fuck you were doing. And I think many, many bands, probably every band can relate to that. Then those early days, the first recordings, stuff like that, it takes time. It takes experience and time being in a studio to really learn how to record properly, right? You wouldn't think you had to learn how to do it, but you do, just expectations and things like that. And just kind of just learning how to be in a studio and how to, get the best tracks you can get and things like that. It takes time. So, yeah, that's really cool. I mean, obviously it shows your last couple records have just been, they sound great. They sound bigger than they've ever sounded. I remember when when you guys put out Reelin', I was like, and that's still probably my favorite song by you guys now. Falling was the big one, right? I fucking love Reelin', dude. And when you guys put that out there, I was like, God damn, this sounds huge, just the sound quality and everything just really leveled up. And you know, that was like really the beginning of like, okay, these guys are like doing some alternative radio shit now. This is like, you know, like I said, the potential was there, and then you guys it really started showing when that record came out.
I think a lot of that had to do with, you know, we worked with a new producer. You know, we worked with King David, and he's like a disciple of, and you know, a partner. He worked with like Pooh Bear and Storch, Scott Storch. Wow. So he's like comes from this world of like massive pop and hip hop, you know, producers. These guys that, you know, they know how to make a record big, and he's really talented. He's a talented keyboard player. He's a classically trained like pianist. So, and he's been doing it for years. So he like really what it comes down to is he really understands how to like bring the song, you know, to that place. And for us, it was like you said, the early days were us sitting in the studio and being like, well, I hear this in my head, but like, I don't know what it is. And I don't know how to get there. Like, I don't know how to record it. I don't know how to like arrive there. And so like a lot of the early songs that we were songs that like we'd get in the studio and I'd be like, oh, I have the sound in my head, or I have this, I hear it. Okay, can we, and then at the end of the song, I was like, well, this is nothing like what I heard in my head, but I still like it, you know? It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it feels like I can get to where the way that I'm hearing it in my head, like when we start a song or when I start to write a song or whatever. And I think that's down to working with, you know, talented producers. And JP Hester, when we started working with him, like we were all just starting. Like JP is talented in a way that he's really he lets you do your thing. Like he let us be ourselves and like do what we wanted to do in the early days. And we had his studio in Ventura, and we were like, if you saw what we were doing on the Time Bomb record, like a lot of people still to this day are like, you know, Time Bomb's your best album. We love Time Bomb. I'm like, well, if you saw the way that we cut that album, like it was a joke. It was an absolute joke. Like we would go down there at like 10 in the morning, and we'd be literally just sitting in there, like trial and erroring stuff for like until like 4 in the morning, you know, just sitting there and like, oh, we're going to go eat some food, and then we're going to sit back down, and we're going to like cut a 10 million like synthesizer parts, and then we're going to, you know, for like 10 hours, and then we're going to like use like 3 of them. You know, it was just a joke. Like it was such a waste of time. It literally took us like probably like 7 months of cutting.
Wow.
Which, you know, like if anybody that knows anything about cutting a record, like you cut a record in like 2 weeks or something like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if you're cutting, like you're actually in there recording music. Like now we cut Hot Enough in like 2 different sessions in LA that were like a total of like maybe 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. Wow. And like we cut like the last record was like, this was like maybe the same thing. And it's like, if you're going to the studio and you're not ready to cut, then you're wasting money. And you know, places that we cut at are expensive, you know, and you know that. I mean, if you go into a studio, we don't have our own studio. Like Santa Barbara, I can barely afford like, you know, space enough for my dog to live in the house with us. So it's like buying a studio here is like, you know, is like, you know, it's a lot of money. So it's like we're still, you know, we go into these places. We go into East West in LA, and we go into Santa Barbara Sound Design where we cut, and we're actually cutting today. But it's expensive, so you don't want to be wasting time. You want to be ready to cut when you get in there. And it's like, I just think back on Time Bomb, and it was literally we just sitting there on a couch, and I'm gonna be like, oh, I got to cut a solo today, and it'd be like, oh, my goal is to just cut one solo in like a 13 hour like thing.
Oh my god.
And like that's just down to like we just had no idea what we were doing. You know what I mean? Like we did, like JP would like be losing his mind because we're just like, I'd be like, no, that's not it.
Yeah, you're just fucking off the whole time.
You know, and he's just like, yeah, you're just dicking around. And it's like, you know, those are the early days, and like, yeah, it's possible to come out with something that's like, successful and people like, Time Bomb still to this day sells records and people love
Big
it.
record.
And, people download it and, when we play those songs, they love it. And it's like, but for me, like, I just think about how difficult it was to make that record. And it's like, it wasn't an easy process. It wasn't a flow. It was just a grind, 100% a grind. And we ground every single one of the songs. It's just down to the fact that we had no idea what we were doing,
Yeah.
We didn't JP was learning was essentially learning on the job with us. He hadn't produced any records for bands on our scale at that point. And, we hadn't worked with anybody. We didn't even understand what a producer did. We didn't understand oh, you're an engineer, but are you going to help us produce this? And he's like, I'm not a producer. I'm essentially your engineer, but we didn't even get that. We were just so green and so naive to the whole thing. And I think now knowing we have an engineer that we've been working with at Will Briere that's really, really amazing and really, really just when you work with people that are on that professional level in music and make the process so much easier, so much faster, and it's I don't ever when I go in the studio, it's hard for me to not have those people because I'm clueless when it comes to to Pro Tools and all the programs. I'm the guy that's just I just want to show up and and just do my thing and not, I literally, you get me on there, I'm just how do you highlight something?
That's great.
It's
That's great.
Yeah, I'm a dunce when it comes to all the geary stuff, but it's I let them do their job. Essentially, it's what we were talking about earlier. It's let the guys that are really, really good at their job do their job. It's I think that's a testament to why the last two records sound so much better. And for me, when I hear them, they sound, obviously I love the way that they sound a lot more. And I like the way that my vocals sound. I like the way that the drums sound. I like, the tones that we got and just overall the sonics of everything just sound better.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference between musicians and people like us that make music and people that are all about consuming it, is that we're uber focused on sonics. And I think that a lot of people are more focused on the feel, the overall feel of the song and how does it make them feel and how do they attach to it. That's why when people say, oh, I love Time Bomb, it's your best album, it's because they've attached to it in a way that's emotionally different. And when I listen to an album, I'm well, I like our newest album because sonically, I think it sounds the best, and I think that the songwriting is the strongest and the tightest. But we're coming from I can't even listen to some of our old records because of the way that they sound sonically. I can't even process the song because it's as soon as I hear a weird guitar tone or a buzzy amp in the thing, and I'm just oh god. No, I'm out.
It's my voice, dude. The first 3 fucking records, man. If I listen to my voice, I cringe because I'm I felt I could sing, but it's just the things that I was doing, the certain, I don't know, the nuances and things. I'm oh my god, why did I do that? And definitely songs where I'm I oversang the fuck out of that, and it's ridiculous. Why did no one stop me?
Oh god,
people's be
exactly. Nobody was stopping us. That was the problem. Is there was nobody there going, guys, you've been in the studio cutting the synth parts for 6 hours straight. Stop. Just do something else.
And see, this is why you pay. People think they hire producers because they're gonna make them blow up on the radio or get them signed to a record label. That's not why you get a producer. You get a producer to help you focus because they're experienced, they know how to do this shit, and they help you focus on the strengths of the song, or encourage you to write better parts or whatever it is, and they
exactly.
extract your best performances, and that is why you hire a producer.
You need somebody there to say yes or no.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's
not a yes man. More of a no man.
Not a yes man. Somebody that's you can do better, or that's fine. Let's move on. We got that. You know what I mean? Otherwise, we're too. If you're too close, you know what I mean? You can't see the forest from the tree. So it's musicians get that way all the time, where you're I need to do this again. Oh, it's not perfect, and then you're just listen, dude, don't worry about it. We got it. we'll fix it. We'll make it right. Like this and that, you know. And so you need that person to kind of be the editor and to be the guy that's going to say like, you can do that better. Cause for me, like, especially vocally, Dave has really pushed me to like be better. You know, it's just be like, you know, you can do better than that. Like, you can do this, like, and, you get so used to like being in control of everything. You know, when we cut those other records, it was like on me, like, oh, I'm good. I'm done. That's good. I'm done.
Yep.
You know, and I'm a perfectionist when it comes to like after the fact, like when I hear it, but it's like when I'm doing it, I'm kind of a lazy ass. Like I don't want to do it like 1,000. Like I know when I cut a vocal now, I'm going to be in there for a long time.
Yeah,
like,
hours.
and it's hours, and it's like, oh my God, I'm going to have to cut the same line like 1,000 times to get it right.
Yeah.
And like, but you know, that's how it goes now. And it's like, if you want to have it sound like great, you know, you have to push yourself to get there. And it's like, I think that's what, again, like what you said, I think the producer is the key to that, you know, and working with somebody that understands what you're trying to get, you know, understands what your sound is. And, yeah, I think we've been lucky in that fashion that we've been able to work with Dave, and JP. They've both been really, really great. And Lincoln, for that matter. Lincoln Parrish is an awesome person as well. So
Yeah,
we've been blessed.
Yeah, I mean, all the stuff, like I said, has been coming out really great. And I'd say that this one, the self-title, is definitely like the most different from all the records you've done before, but not in a bad way. It's just like it's a significant growth, and you guys are definitely trying new things. And I'd say, I mean, when I listen to Press Play a couple times, like the single, you know, when you think about it, like, why did K-Rock pick it or whatever, like, it just fits, you know, with what they're doing. And I think every now and then it still has like a reggae feel to it, you know? But, you know, just the hook on it, it's just that press play, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just feel like it's something people get down with, and it has like the right elements and the right tones and everything. And
yeah, I think that, you know, especially on this record, on the last record, the self-titled, that, you know, it's like for me, I'm like the broken record guy that says it all the time, but like we always have just said, like, ever since we made Time Bomb, like we just say, listen, we just want to make songs. Like that's all we care about. Like all I care about is making a good song. Like I don't even care. If I listen to the radio, I don't care what genre it is. Yeah. Like I really don't care. It could be like the most deep, like country, or like deep. It could be the complete opposite way. It could be like a super trappy, like hip hop, like, you know, song. And it's like, as long as the song is good, I don't care. I'll like it. Like, you know, it could be the most bubblegum pop song you've ever heard, and I'll love it just because if it's a well written song and it's all the elements are there, like I'm into it, you know. And so for me, like with Iration, I have always said, like, listen, we just want to make good songs, and we don't really care what the genre is. Like, yeah, we usually get lumped into the reggae thing, and it's like, and a lot of the songs aren't really even reggae songs, to be honest. And it's like, we understand that. That's why we don't get like, you know, we don't fit into the reggae category. If when a Grammy comes out, like they don't even think, like, you know, we heard like with Hotting Up, they broached the record for the Grammys, and they're like, well, this isn't even reggae. So they're like, basically like, it got released under reggae, or Hotting Up got released under alternative, but like even with this last record, they just don't consider us reggae. So like, we'll never be in that realm, which is, for us, is fine. Like, obviously, like, you know, when you see, we have all these other bands in our genre that kind of fit into that realm a little bit more, you know, you have the Revolutions and the Stupids and J-Boog and kind of those bands that fit the reggae mold a little bit better, like proper roots reggae type stuff. But I think that, you know, we're like, we can do that, but we do kind of like have that element of alternative and like pop that's kind of like flowing through us, where to the point where I can see why a dude that's like really into, you know, like Ziggy Marley's live album, like, wouldn't think that we're reggae, you know what I mean? Or wouldn't really like necessarily like latch on to what we're doing. I get it. And like, we're not gonna, the thing is we're not gonna like shift our music just to fit into a category. Like, I don't really want to do that. I always feel like in music, and as we get older, like when you're younger, you feel like, oh my God, we gotta get to this place. We gotta fit into this realm. We gotta impress these people. Mm-hmm. And now it's like, dude, I'm like old now. I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care. I want to make music that I can listen to and not feel embarrassed. Like, totally, dude. Like, I want to put a song on that I can play for like my mother-in-law or like, you know, anybody, like somebody that I just meet, and they can be like, and I can be like proud to put it on and be like, you know, this is what I do. And they can be like, and they either like it or they don't, but I'm not worried about it. You know what I mean? I don't feel like it's not true to who I am and like what I enjoy. And I always feel like I hear these stories about bands, you know, and it's all about, they get to a point in their career where they go, listen, I just started making music that I want to hear. Yeah. You know, and I think that's what the point where we're at is, like, we just want to make songs that we want to hear. And I don't really care what genre it gets released under. I don't really care for like if it's reggae enough or it's not reggae enough or whatever it is. I just care that it's good. Like, I just care that the songs are good and they are real and they sound good, you know, and that's 100% where I'm coming from.
Yeah, no, totally, man. We put our stuff out in alternative, and if we put out our EP, The Cool Down, in the reggae category, but that song was a little more, had more of that sound going on. There's like some acoustic stuff, things like that. But like, you know, the new record, for example, it's a fucking rock record, you know, it's a punk rock, whatever. Yeah. And I think there's like one song on it that has like 1.5 songs that has like any kind of reggae going on. And it wasn't on purpose. It wasn't like, I'm not making a reggae record, it's going to be the most heavy. It's like, it wasn't that. It was like there were things going on in my life that happened in the last couple of years, and like dark things that, where if I knew that like I wasn't going to put out like a pop reggae record, because our reggae is very like, whenever we do that stuff, it's more pop oriented. It's like kind of bouncy and pop. It's not roots at all. And I knew that the stuff that I was going to be writing about wasn't going to fit on that backdrop. And so, you know, that's when I go back to my fucking Billy Joe Armstrong, like, I just want to rock out and get this angst out about all the shit that's happening to me. You know, so that it just happened that way. And you know, so it goes back to sticking to your guns and doing what you want to do. And your fans, I guess they can love it or hate it, but I think at the end of the day, they'll appreciate the honesty and the truth from it. We get people from our girls record from last year that did really well. It was one of our biggest rollouts ever. And it's like a lot of those songs are in our top 10 Spotify and all that stuff. So like, it's always like our softer songs too that are in like the top 10 and shit. I know. Yeah, that's the curse. Yeah, dude. And so you know, even that record, we put that out in alternative as well. I just felt like it's not what we do. Isn't really reggae. We're definitely like playing those sounds and things, but you know, I feel like it's an insult in a way to call my band a reggae band, when there's so many great reggae artists out there, you know, and I'm just using the sound because I just love that type of music. And I started mixing that shit up. I got my reggae influences from Goldfinger and Sublime, you know what I mean? Of all places. Yeah. And then I just went back from there.
I mean, and it's like, you know, the reason why reggae is such a big part of what we do is we grew up listening to it. And when we started playing it, we were literally a cover band. So like, we covered reggae songs. That's how we started playing music. We're not a band that started in like high school and like, you know, was like writing original music from the time we were like 16. Like, none of us were musicians really. Like, I learned to play guitar when I was 19 when I was 18 when I went to college. Oh, wow. Like, I didn't even know how to play guitar. I was like, I went to my college dorm and was like, I brought my ukulele from Hawaii, and I was like, yeah, I got this ukulele I played in high school, and everybody was like, oh, cool. And then, cool, dude.
Now people love the ukulele, by the way, these days.
I know, it blew up. And and we've used it on records. But side note, but no, but one of the guys on my hall was he was a guitar player, and he had a guitar, and he was like really good, really good player, and he basically taught me how to play. This guy Brett Turner, and he taught me all the basics and you know how to kind of like you know how to you know like minor theory and like how to you know just chords essentially and like how to play and just technique like basic technique stuff. And it's like that was like really the only guitar lessons I've ever had in my life, were just learning. And then I got obsessed, and just every time I see a guitar, I had to play it. You know, I think you know that same feeling. It's like when you first pick up a guitar and you start learning guitar, it becomes like this obsession where you're like, I just want to play guitar. I just want to play
Every
guitar.
fucking
Like, anytime
day,
you
dude.
see it, yeah. Every time you see a guitar, you're like, oh, I want to play it. I just want to play a song.
Seriously.
Like, I wish I could get back to that point of, you know, where it's like
excitement,
you know, the
man.
first time. Yeah, it's like the first time you smoke weed or something like that, you
Yeah.
know, or the first time you have you drink a drink and you're like, oh my god, like this is amazingly like you feel like you're in another world, you know. And it's like you can't ever get there again, really. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like I wish I could, you know. Maybe there's another instrument that I need to learn. Like maybe if I started playing piano, it'd be like the same thing. And I kind of like sometimes think I want to learn, but I just. You know, that's that feeling of like, oh my god, I just want to play guitar. And it's like, we all just came late to the game, and Joe D played a little bit of drums. Adam learned how to play bass, in the band. You know, Kaysen played a little bit and had like a high school band. He was younger than us. He had like a little high school band, but he played guitar in the band. And he basically played keys because Rory from Revolution was in our band. And then when he left to go play in Revolution, because he thought we were going to stop playing because Adam was like going to move back to Hawaii. We're all in college. And he's like, oh, I'm going to go play with Revolution. We're like, yeah, that's cool. And so we're like, oh, we need a keyboarder. Kaysen, you're going to play keys. I know you play guitar, but you're going to play keyboards now. And he was like, all right. So
You did that to Scott.
like our band was put together basically just like, oh, who can fill in this spot? We need to play these songs, these cover songs. And it was like, because we learned how to play music by playing reggae songs, like it's always going to be, you know, in our sound. Like it's not something that we're trying to like escape or we're trying to push into our song. It's just, that's just who we are as musicians. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm definitely not like a guitar player that can play like a million different things. Like I'm essentially like a rhythm guitar player that can as stronger in this genre because that's how I learned how to play guitar, like electric guitar, like playing these songs. So, you know, I think that as a band, like we've always just been like, you know, in a way it's helped us because we couldn't branch out earlier. We didn't really know how. We didn't know how to play other styles of music. We were just playing what we were, you know, could play essentially. Like, oh, I don't even know, like, you know, when we first started, it's like, well, I know like 5 chords, so I'm going to write songs with like the 5 chords that I know. You know, I know like I can make this major into a minor and it'll sound different. Da, da, da. We were so basic,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that that actually it actually helped us because I think trying to be too much and too complicated early, kind of kept. I think that would have hurt our sound a little bit. I think that being simple and keeping things like kind of right there in the pocket was of our strengths was kind of a blessing in disguise, really. So actually, it was good to be shitty at music.
Totally. you gotta be. That's great. Yeah, I think. I mean, same thing for us. It was like, you know, it's easy to have an identity crisis. I mean, when we were starting out, it was 95 when we started the band. So, you know, my favorite bands were Green Day, and I was listening to like Silverchair and Bush and Stone Temple Pilots, and you know, bands like that.
Awesome.
So like you start writing songs that are similar to that stuff. But I was always more in like the pop punk side of it with the Green Day stuff and, you know, Offspring and all that. And I mean, pop punk's as simple as it gets, you know, like I started playing power chords, finally learned a bar chord like a couple of years after I started playing. I think I was 14 when I started playing, and never took any lessons. Just I had a book. I bought a Guitar Center or Music Land over here, and I learned like 3 chords like via like tabs, and that was just it, you know. And I just started writing songs, and they were fucking terrible.
That's awesome.
You know.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of love songs, things like that, and I'm always the love song guy. I write a lot of love songs. Can't help it. But
hey, you know what? So do I. But you know what? Like, I always think it was like, I think it was the Beatles. I'm a massive fan of the Beatles, and they always said like, every song is really a love song, like at heart. Because why would you write a song about it if it was something that you didn't care about? So whether that's love, like love as far as, you know, a direct love song, like a song about I love this person, or it's a song about loving a thing, or a song about losing love, or a song about, you know, that's essentially where it all comes from, as a place of love. So it's like, if you don't love something, then it's not going to be something worth writing a song about, regardless of what it is. Like, I love my dog. I write a song about my dog. I love my car. You know, it's like a Beach Boys song. I love my car. I love my, like, you know, this and that. So it's like,
love my surfboard. Yeah.
I think like when it's a, like, you know, you should feel comfortable writing love songs, because every song is really a love song at heart. If it's a good song, I feel like. And if you, I mean, you look at the Beatles, it's like literally like their entire catalog is just love songs in different ways. Like, even the weird ones. I mean, there's some that are maybe not directly love songs. You know, you have like Benefit of Mr. Kite and stuff like that, that are just kind of whimsical, weird ones. But it's like, there's always an element in there that it makes you feel some sort of emotion, whether or not it's like sadness or something else.
You're blowing my mind right now. That's very.
Am I?
Yeah, dude. It's like I never thought of it that way. It's true though. It's true what you're saying. You know, quoting Paul McCartney or whatever. But like, it's very true, because everything that I write about, I've always said my stuff comes from the heart, and you don't really think about what that means. I guess you just think it's stuff that's happened to you in the past or whatever, or maybe happened to a friend, and you're writing a song about that situation. But like, yeah, I mean, it is. You know, if it's not worth writing about, then, you know, you don't care about it. And I don't know, it's just wild. You just kind of like flip my world right there. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and like for me, like a lot, it's hard. And that's where I think like for a writer, it's like writer's block comes from like a lack of passion more than it comes from like a lack of ideas.
Yeah.
And I think like it's people like, oh man, I don't know. I don't have anything that motivates me to write about, because I'm not passionate about anything right now. Like, you know, and it's like, you know, some people say, oh, the tortured artist, you have to have gone through like some massive like
Trauma
problem or like trauma to like write a good record. And it's like, I don't necessarily subscribe to that. Like,
no.
I feel like if you're an empathetic person, or like for instance, Kurt Cobain, you know, he wrote like, Rape Me. And he wrote these songs by hearing about these like stories on the, in the paper, or reading these stories in the paper. And he empathized and put himself into these people's shoes. And he wrote from the perspective of perspective of a woman being, you know, taken advantage of. And it's like, that didn't happen to him, but it affected him to the point where he was able to write a song that was like, was this amazing song that put himself into the perspective of someone else. And I think that's like, if you're able to be empathetic and like put yourself into that, a different place, like you can still hit that emotional vein.
Absolutely.
Even if it didn't directly happen to you, like the emotion is still there because it's something that affected you, and you felt it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
so I think that's where it all comes from, you know, and I think that, listen to good songs.
Kurt Cobain is one of those.
You hear it.
He's one of those guys that could give a voice to the voiceless in a way. I think a lot of like, especially teenagers and stuff like that, when they're looking for something, you know, when they don't know what they are yet and who they want to be, and they hear these songs and someone that can be the voice of that generation, you know.
Well, and Kurt Cobain was, you know, and like we were just talking about earlier, like Kurt Cobain was a melodic genius.
Totally,
like
dude.
that was where his strength was like melody, really,
He
because
loved John Lennon, man.
Nirvana. He loved Lennon. He loved the Beatles. Like loved the Pixies. He loved these bands that had these like really melodic sounds, and like he did it. He obviously Nirvana did it with, oh, let's make it sound as like brash and hard and loud as we can, but we're gonna keep these like pop melodies essentially in it. It's like that was what, you know, when everybody talks about him, they're like, you know, he just had an ear for melody. Like he was a genius when it came to like making a song, because he made hits. I mean, those are like all these songs about, you know, depression and these tough subjects, and he made them these massive smash pop hits, and it's like, you know, that's a perfect example of how melody really is at the heart of like, you know, songwriting. And really it's like, if it's a good melody, you know, I'm sure there's like a good portion of people heard what he was saying and really latched on to what his lyrics were saying. And then there's like a giant portion of people that were like, they just like when it hits the chorus and it just goes loud and you headbang, and it's like this feel of like, you know, and it's not really about latching onto the lyrics, and more latching onto like the feel of the song.
Yeah. So what was the what was the first show you guys did, and how did it go? First Iration show ever, and how did it go?
First Iration show, like I said, we were a garage band in Isla Vista in Santa Barbara. So the first shows that we played were like house parties, backyards, stuff like that, garage.
Do you have a name yet?
First show, yeah.
Okay.
You know, the band had a name before I even joined it. So It was like Adam, Joe D, Rory from Revolution, and Catlin, Kaysen's older brother. And then we had like our buddy Racy, and we had all of our buddies. It was basically all of our friends that lived together, that were all from Hawaii, that we all went to high school with. And if it was like, you're going to play, we just needed to fill places in the band. So it's like, oh, you know how to play like a C chord on a piano, you're going to be the keyboard player. Oh, you know how to shake a shaker, so you're going to be percussion. So you know what I mean? So it's like, we had like 8 guys playing, and everybody just had their little niche, like, oh, I'm going to play this part. Amazing. And then we just played covers. So when I actually graduated from college and I moved up, and in high school I sang, and I was like, you know, I sang in the choir. I won the music prize for high school. So I was like, you know, they all knew that I was musical. So they were like, when I moved to Santa Barbara after college, they're like, you're in the band, you're going to sing backup. And I was like, okay, sick. Like, I just want to be in the band, you know, I just want to be with the boys. So I sang backup. We had Racy, our buddy Racy and Catlin were the lead singers. I stood in the back with a background mic, and we had another female singer named Jessica. We sang backups together, and it was like, we had like 10 people on stage and nobody was good except for Jessica, who was like amazing. So she was like, this is really funny actually. She grew up basically in this family that was like a family band, you know, where her brother was the lead guitarist, her dad was the drummer, like, you know, and then they played the like tracks, and they all sang and played guitar, and then she would come up and do some songs, and she has this like beautiful, powerful singing voice, and we'd play shows, and she'd have like her 2 songs that she'd do like Don Penn, No, 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 and she'd do like second verses on a bunch of songs, and she would just get up there and the crowd would go like ape. They'd go this ape shit and be like, oh my God. And then after the show, she'd be like, Jessica's so good. And we're like, yeah, like, we know she's way better than us. And then it got to a point where she's like, you know what, guys, like, I have a career. Like, she's like a travel agent now, and she lives down the street from me. It's so funny because I still see her. And she's like, she was so much better than we were at that point. And she like really didn't belong in the band with us, but she like, actually like probably helped us like in the very beginning stages because we had no idea what we were doing. And I sang backup, and it was like just me and her, and we'd sing. I'd have like one song that I'd sing, and then eventually everybody just graduated and like moved on. And when they moved on, they're like, "Oh, Micah, we lost our guitar player. You know, Parker's gonna go move away. So you want to play guitar?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know how to play guitar since I learned in college. Never played electric guitar." They're like, "Oh, here, you play guitar." And I was like, "Okay." And I played Kaysen's electric guitar for like 7 years. Like I couldn't afford my own guitar. So I didn't even have an electric guitar I had was like broken and I couldn't fix it. So I didn't even, like I had a day job and I was like paying the rent and that was basically it. And we all worked at this like call center and as we went along, like, you know, we were just all kind of thrust into these roles and like eventually then it became everybody left and it was me and Caitlin like, oh, and I started writing songs and that was kind of like what our first EP was. The New Roots EP was like me putting lyrics on top of beats that they had written with like Rory and all these other people that were in the band at that point. So it was like the name was already there. So when I got there, like the name Iration was already in place. And like, it's funny because there came a point where we were like, it was like in 2009 or something, like 2010. And we're like, dude, should we change our name? Like having to explain Iration every time. And like, should we change our name? Like, and it was like I remember it was like a serious discussion of like whether or not we should change our name. And then we were like, no, man, like we've come too far already. Like we've done all this work. Like we built our name, like, and yeah, we're going to stick with it. And it's really funny, like looking back on it, cause we really hadn't done anything at that point. We're like, I mean, it seemed like we'd gone so far, but it like really like
feels huge,
you know, It was nothing. Yeah. It was like in the grand scheme of things, it was nothing, but you know, we stuck with it. And yeah, so, you know, it's funny, like I don't know if people really know like the beginning stages of the band because it was such a weird, like, you know, not normal way to be. So the first show, get all the way back around to your question. The first show is like, we're playing in I can't remember exactly what the actual first show is. The first show for me, I think was playing, at this place called Velvet Jones in Santa Barbara.
Oh yeah, I played there.
And it was just me standing on the back of the stage, singing backups and them going, and I knew like 3 of the songs and we played like 25 songs.
Whoa.
And I knew 3 of them. And they were like, we go into a song and they'd be like, okay, like, all right. And I wouldn't even know the song at all. Like I haven't even heard it before. They're playing these like deep cut reggae songs. And I was like, I'll just stand here up on the stage, like, and just sing whatever, like they tell me to sing. And yeah, so it was like, those are like the first shows. And then, you know, obviously when I, as like a actual member, like real member, like a singer in the band, I'm pretty sure it was, the first gig we ever played was at, like out of town gig was at the Lighthouse in Hermosa Beach. And, we played alongside Jessica, our old singer's family band.
Sick.
And, there was like 7 people there. It was super sick.
Yeah.
We definitely sucked. I played through one of those like those pedal boards that was like it was like a multi-effects pedal board and it with like a, you know, like a red LED light popped out.
Oh man. Yeah.
Oh man, it was bad. Like I just think back in those like the tones and stuff that I was working with and I was like it was embarrassing.
Dude, I used to have a Metal Zone pedal, man. Ugh.
Oh
Metal
yeah.
Zone. Remember those? The Boss? Oh my god.
It's a classic.
Little black box
with
with the orange.
Yeah, the Boss.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah, that shit was awful.
Oh. that was my favorite pedal to play when I went to Guitar Center.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Back in the
you
day.
Crank it the fuck up.
You just crank the metal zone up and just like shred something.
That's so good. So when I don't want to keep you for too much longer, but when was the turning point for you, like you and the band? When did you guys feel like, oh my god, okay, we're really doing this now, you know, this can sustain us? Where did you feel like you really had the biggest success?
I think it was Time Bomb probably, and I know when we put out No Time for Rest, we all expected it to be this like, oh, we're gonna blow up. Like, you know, we were in the NFC crowd. We had no fucking clue. Like, we were like, yeah, man, once we just drop this song, it's gonna like, we're gonna, oh my God. And then we dropped it and it was like, we were like twiddling our thumbs, like waiting for the girls to start coming in, and then nobody gave a shit. And we're like, oh, wait a second, that's not how it works. Like, and I think with No Time for Rest, we were trying to make great gay records, and you know, we were trying to sound a specific way. The Sample This EP actually was probably the biggest thing for us in our career. Was that it was Falling, I'm With You, Wait and See, and Electricity were the fourth song that record, and when we put it out, like, people immediately really latched onto it, and I think that was like a big thing for us, and kind of seeing the reaction. You know, I think it was on MySpace, and like this big thing in Hawaii. So we were in California, so we had no idea, but it was like number one on every island and on every station.
Wow.
And we're kind of doing this like viral thing before there was like virality. And after we went back and kind of played shows, and it was like these crazy crowds, and we're like, oh my God, like this is awesome. And we were on MySpace, and the song was like millions of streams, and we're like, holy crap, like this is cool. And then it kind of, after about a year, it kind of died down, and then the iPhone 1 came out, and they had this game on it called Tap Tap Revenge that was,
remember that,
like Guitar Hero for your iPhone. Yeah, and the first level song that they had, Falling, they asked us to put it on. It was like a additional song that was in the beginner level, and when we did that, we had like another spike like a year after that of like millions of streams and people that were like downloading it, and that was another huge kind of like spike for us, especially with that song. And so I think at that point we were kind of like, oh, okay, we kind of see a pathway forward, because, you know, that really helped us kind of jumpstart our career. And the Sample This especially, all four of the songs that people relapsed onto, and after that we started shows and doing the Rocky, and I think we sold the Rocky, and everybody was like, oh my God, we sold out the Rocky, like we're gonna make it, you know. And I think those were like and you know, we did the Time Bomb record, and I think that was kind of when we kind of felt like we had something that was kind of unique, and that we could do it. We had no idea, obviously. If I were to go back and, you know, and I look at what actually happened after that, I'd probably be like, do I want to do that again? Like, do I want to go and sit in the tour, travel the country in a tour van for like another like 8 years or whatever it was, you know, or like 6 years? It's like, yeah. I don't know, man. Like, I mean, I would, obviously, but it's like, you know, knowing what you go through to get there, it's like, it's tough to, like, if I had to do it over again, I'd be like, I'd have to think about it, because it was rough, man. Like, you know it is, and yeah. And traveling and touring is tough.
Yeah, it's exhausting, man, for sure. But obviously, yeah. You know, you guys are out there fucking killing it now. Every time I see, you know, shows or see the pictures, I caught one of the shows on the summer tour with Dirty Heads, and you guys are just out there doing amazing work, man. It's really good to see. I mean, it's no wonder why that EP took off the way it did. I mean, Falling, just the first two lines of that song, you know, it's like, we met at a concert, you were wearing Converse. I don't know what it is, but there's just something, it just says so much. I can't explain it. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was like, yeah. I mean, it's funny because the line was literally, I had "we met at a concert," and then I was like, nothing rhymes with concert. It's funny because people always ask me like, was she really wearing Converse, man? And I'm like, actually, no. It was just the only thing that rhymed with that I could find that rhymed with. And I think honestly, I was sitting at home, at our house, everybody went back home to Hawaii, and I was the only one that didn't go. And I was sitting in our house. It was like a super hot day, and I was just writing on GarageBand in the living room. And I wrote that line. I said, we met at a concert, and then I swear to God, a Converse commercial came on television.
Oh, man.
Or I'd just seen one the day before, and I was like, oh. I was like, Converse. I was like, that makes sense. And it was like, at that time, Chucks were just starting to like come back, like really hard, come back into fashion. You know, like people were, I mean, they obviously never really went away, but they were like starting to really push Chucks back out again. And I was like, oh, that's kind of makes sense. And I was like, that actually like paints a pretty cool picture. Like, you know, and you know, she was wearing Converse, and it was like, and it's funny because I don't really think about it that much anymore, because it's just been, you know, and you sing it every show for like 10 years or whatever it's been. Like,
yeah,
you don't really think,
you
you don't really
it.
think about it.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, yeah, like it was, you know, I think that it kind of plays into that, like 1 + 1 equals like 3 or whatever it is, or whatever that like thing is. It's like, you don't, you say the thing, but you don't really explicitly say what you're trying to say, you know. And it's like,
somehow it works out.
She was wearing Converse, so maybe she's like kind of in like a punky, like edgier thing. And I don't know. It's like, yeah, that line. I mean, that line, you know, who knows if I don't write that pairing together, like where our career ends up, or, you know, Butterfly Effect, if you go all the way back there. But it's like, yeah, I mean, it's some of it is luck, you know. I think a part of it is luck. It's like,
yeah,
if that commercial doesn't come on, or that it's not in my head at the time, I think that it ever happened. It's all part of it. I think, you know, some bands write, there's bands that write better songs than we do, and like they end up like not in it, you know. And it's just, it depends. There's like so many different variables that have to come together in music and for things to be successful. And I think that a lot of it is luck, you know. A lot of it is the testament to like our friendship as guys together. And I think that bands that last are bands that really are friends and can get along and kind of get through times. And the other part of it is being lucky, and the other part of it is being actually talented.
Yeah.
And good.
Yeah. I think being talented, being good at what you do is definitely a huge part of it. The stars seem to be aligned for you when you wrote that song. And you know, but I don't know. It's been really rad to see everything going down. When we did that tour together in 2011, it was like only a couple weeks, and that's when you guys did it was the Fresh Grounds EP. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Fresh Grounds.
yeah, and I could see it then. You know, I could see it like from when we played with each other. It was 2008. I think it was Cinco de Mayo 2008 at Ram's Head in Baltimore. I think that was the show.
Oh my God, Ram's Head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were, I know my band was next door at Mex, just getting fucking plastered with Dollar Souls, just crushing beers. And we played terribly. And the show was,
Yes.
I remember the show, I thought it was the most amazing show we'd ever played. And I heard the recording a couple weeks later, and I was like, oh God, we're never drinking again. But you know, going just a couple years after that to being on tour with you guys and seeing the response, and like just the amount of girls that come to your guys' shows, like that girls love your band. It's just, I don't know, it was just amazing to see, you know?
Yeah, I think that you know, that's always been good for us. I mean, like having a lot, like especially like women and girls that like love our. If the women and the girl go to the show, the guys are going to go to the show too.
Yeah,
like that's how it's going to be. And
exactly.
There's always that like, just like for every like one girl that buys a shirt, like 5 guys will buy a shirt. So it's like, I mean, maybe it's just that I'm such a like, you know, I'm like a, you know, maybe I'm in touch with my feminine side or something like that. But like, I don't write particularly, you know, always. I think Time Bomb was really the song that kind of like, Time Bomb, and you know, being kind of an anthem for girls is like, women is like, that was my intent, you know, like writing the song for women so that not to like party shame them, you know, like, oh, she's a drunk hot mess. Like, it's like dudes write songs about like partying and like, you know, turning up and like they're celebrated and then, you know, and don't have that same thing. So I was like trying to like, hey, why don't we make a song so that it like, you know, puts it in a good light, you know, gives them an anthem essentially. And that was like, you know, maybe that was the reason why, you know, girls kind of latch on to, you know, that song in particular, obviously. But
yeah,
I think, and it's funny on that tour that, as a side note, on that tour when we played at Ram's Head, that was the first tour we'd ever been on. And we did the tour with Pepper. That was the Playboys in Paradise tour. And it basically it routed us. There was a secondary market tour and it routed us all the way to New Jersey. And they played, Bamboozle Festival in the Meadowlands. And, after it was done, they flew to Europe to go play with, Flogging Molly, I think. And, we were basically like, they're like, oh, you guys got to route yourselves back. And we didn't have an agency at the time.
Oh man.
Adam was our booking agent. So we weren't on like William Morris or CAA or anything like that. And we were like, okay, Adam booked. So Adam reached out to you guys, I think.
Yeah, he did.
Adam. And the funny thing is the first show we played was at this place in Brooklyn called the Trash Bar.
Uh-huh.
And it's a famous little place, but we literally pulled up to it and there was a 10th pile of trash in front of it. And we're like, oh my God, that's just a clever name. And the Pepper tour, and it was this amazing tour, packed houses all over the country, you know, for our first national tour. And then on the way home, we played in front of like, I mean, besides like a couple shows, like we played with you guys, so we kind of usurped your fan base that was there for you guys, not really us. And other than that, we played at all these tiny little dive bars, like nobody there, like all the way back across the country. So basically it was like Playboys in Paradise on the way out there. And then we dubbed it the Gimps in Hell on the way back. Cause we were just like in a night, it was a nightmare. Like the Adam Taylor booking agency's like greatest moment became his like greatest failure. We still joke with him to this day. We're like, yeah, man, you know, the Adam Taylor booking agency was kind of like a disaster, to be honest. Like the Gimps in Hell tour wasn't really a success, but it was like just going all the way back across the country, playing in front of, going from playing these like, you know, House of Blues, and for us that was, you know, these massive shows, and like going back across the country and playing like, you know, tiny little dirt bar with like nobody there all the way back across the country, was a good like juxtaposition of like, okay, you guys realize that you haven't done anything yet. You know, you played these big shows with Pepper, but like that's not your crowd yet. Like you still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And that happened to be on that Ram's Head live show was one of those shows, on that tour. So it's kind of a funny, I always will remember it. Like all those shows on that tour stick with me. Like, and obviously meeting you guys for the first time, because we'd heard about you and we'd kind of like heard your music, and like, there weren't that many bands in the genre at that time. It was like, you know, Slightly Stupid, 311, Pepper,
yeah. Pacifier,
us,
and
you guys, yeah. Revolution, Pacifier, and then Stick Figure was like, Scott was out there, but he was like doing something real different. And then, you know, there's B Foundation, Dirty Heads, those bands, yeah. And they're just Tomorrow's Bad Seeds. There weren't like a lot of bands, and now there's so many. Like, it's crazy now. I hear Tribal Seeds, I think it was still a band at that point too, and Revolution. But it was like, there just weren't that many bands. So it was like, we knew everybody, you know, like that's why, you know, we're all close. Like, you know, we know we're close because we've all toured together, and it's like, we've all spent this time together, because at that point, like, oh, who are you going to tour with? Well, there's like 8 other bands in the genre that you can tour with. So like, we got to tour together. True. Like, and so it just happens, like, you know, almost everybody in the genre, like, especially the bands that we all know and we all came up with, they're all cool. Like, there's not a lot of like, you know, D-bags out there that like you don't want to tour with. And I mean, there are, like, I'm not going to name names, but like, obviously, like, we all got along. We get along with like almost everybody, you know, all the Stupids and the Peppers and Expendables and all those bands. We all are good friends to this day. And like, you know, it's 2008. We played that show together, and it's 2018, and I'm doing your podcast. It's like a testament to like, you know, we cut our teeth together, and the friendships are real, and like when you go through those times together, like it makes your even like we don't have to talk like. We don't talk to everybody in the genre like every day, you know, like it's not like that. But when we see each other, it's like, hey, bring it in, brother. Like,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. Anytime I've like it's, there's been a few times where like I'll, like we don't talk all the time, but like when I happen to see that we're going to be in the same town or something, I'll be like, yo, dude, hook it up. You know, go check out the show or whatever.
Of course.
No, that's just rad. Yeah, it's funny. When you brought that up, I actually to kind of close this out, I wanted to. I had a few people ask, you know, like they wanted to ask a couple questions or whatever from the old Instagram. About, you know, when you say there weren't as many bands and stuff back then. I got a question here that says, do you feel the scene has become oversaturated, and if so, why? What do you think about that?
I think it's oversaturated. I do think it's oversaturated, but I think it's oversaturated in the way that I don't think enough bands are trying to do something different. You know, that's my biggest issue is like,
I agree with that.
I think that there's too many bands that want to sound like Revolution, or they want to sound like Slightly Stupid, or they want to sound like, you know, whatever. And it's like, I think that I've always, like, I want to see bands push the genre. Like, I want to see, like, that. I feel like that's always been our kind of, like, role in this thing is, like, to try to push the sound and try to say, like, listen, you can go other places. Like, you can explore. And, like, it doesn't have to sound this way. It doesn't have to be roots reggae. Like, look at the Dirty Heads. Like, yeah, they had success early and they had roots records, but they also now they make, you know, these like radio hits, and it's like there's room for both, you know what I mean? Like you can have both, and it's like I think that we have always said, like, you know, I think that there's a lot of good bands out there and a lot of talented people, and it's like, but I really have, anytime I talk to like younger bands that are up and coming and they're like, dude, what should we do? I'm just like, just try to make it sound different.
Yeah.
You know? Try to find what it is that makes you unique, and then go that way. But yeah, I mean, there's so many bands. Yeah, I don't even know. Like, I honestly say, like, I don't know all the bands. Like, I used to know them all, and now I don't.
I know, it's the weirdest thing. A decade later, it's like I feel like 2006 is where it really started to kind of ramp up when Pepper put out No Shame, and Stupid was out there doing their thing already, and it really started to go up. And then, you know, right around probably, I don't know, maybe when a couple years into like Cali Roots and all that stuff, like that shit really just started exploding. I started seeing bands all over the place. In 2011, I started seeing like reggae bands in St. Louis, you know? I was like, what is happening, you know? And it was a good thing. It was cool, you know? But like you say, it's like we already have an Iration, we already have a Revolution, you know, we have a Dirty Heads. Do something that's going to make you stand out, and, you know, on your own.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's my biggest thing.
Yeah. Do any of the guys in Iration skateboard or longboard?
Yeah, I don't, because I'll break myself.
Same here.
Pretty much Adam, all the surfers do for sure. Adam, Joe, Kaysen, they all surf, so they're all pretty capable skaters. I'm not. I skated when I was like 7, and then I like ate crap, and my neighbors had a half pipe, and I like could never drop in on it, so I quit.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm like the extreme sports days for me are dead. My body is broken down from years of playing sports, and so I stick to golf, like the middle-aged white man's sport of choice.
Oh, you're into golf. I know that.
I'm a huge golf nut. Like, for me, it's like my release on the road. I can go and play golf and like be away from the thing, to kind of do my own thing. And it's like, Yeah, I realize that what it comes off as is slightly pompous and like, you know, snooty, but it's like, I really like golf for like the most basic elements of it, which are like nature, like being outside and like, you know, kind of like being just in a peaceful, calm, like environment.
Yeah.
That's really what it's about for me.
I imagine
like,
it breaks up the monotony of, you know, the madness being on the road and stuff. It's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah. It's a challenge, you know, it's really hard, and I enjoy stuff like that. So
that's good. Let's see a couple more here. Let's see. Is Double Up coming out on vinyl? I need it. 7 exclamation marks.
I don't know. I mean, it could. Double Up was an album that we were like, we need to make an acoustic record. Like, I think it would be cool to kind of put a bunch of songs that we felt like either were our strongest songs that people would want to hear acoustically, and then a few, like the other half of the songs that were like, maybe we wanted that acoustically they were I felt like they might even be better songs acoustically than they actually ended up being as, you know, produced like electric songs. So, I mean, I think we will. The problem is all of our records we're trying to get on vinyl, they're so backed up that it takes like a year to get them pressed.
Yeah.
And they press them over in like the Czech Republic or something like that. And so it takes like, it's like really tough to deal with. And people are, you know, we don't even have hot enough like pressed right now.
Oh.
So yeah, it's just been a giant kind of like issue with trying to get them pressed. And if anybody knows places that can press like some high quality vinyl, like maybe let me know.
Yeah, in like 2 months time.
yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on my Detonate, the new record. It's like it's taking forever.
Yeah.
But
no, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Let's see. Actually, Pinto had asked about when Kai left, if you were concerned about the transition, but I think you kind of answered that.
Yeah, we were, and rightfully so. Like Kai is a talented singer and songwriter, and but like I said, yeah, Micah Brown really helped us kind of like navigate that, and yeah,
that's rad. And let me see, this might be the last one here. I got a bunch of silly ones, so I'm just trying to weed them out. What's the one song you guys perform the most? What's the one song they love the most and why? Okay, yeah. What song do you perform and love the most?
Ooh, it's hard to say. It's like it changes all the time.
A lot of bangers.
Yeah. Lot of bangers. Jeez,
a lot of bangers,
for
bro.
That. I think I like songs that for me are in my vocal range, so I don't have to like stress about them too much, you know, where I can really like feel like vocally like I enjoy singing them. So, and then that are fun to play. So for me, like my favorites are Fly With Me and Reelin' are my two kind of favorite ones, because they just kind of have fun parts, and vocally they're right in my like wheelhouse. So I think that's my two favorites. But yeah, the new stuff for me is really fun to play always, just because it's fresh.
Yeah. Fucking love Reelin' still, dude. It's like just the cadence on that song, like the way your vocals, the rhythm and stuff of your vocals and everything. And just, I don't know, I love that, like all the elements in that song. Just like, I thought it was like the perfect song.
Thank you. I really like that song too. It's one of my favorites that we've done.
For sure. Okay, last one.
Okay.
Okay, what's the first concert you ever attended as a fan?
I'd say there was definitely these concerts in Hawaii that I attended with like my parents, I think, but those were like, it was like this band called the Hawaiian Style Band that was like this massive thing for a while in Hawaii. I saw them at my local theater, and it was like, that was kind of a mind-blowing experience. But like the first concert that I ever really saw, I didn't see a real proper concert. Like we saw Ika Mouse when I was in high school in Kona, but that wasn't really it. It's like the first real concert I ever really saw was in college, actually, because in Hawaii, on the Big Island especially, we didn't really get big acts. Like we didn't get concerts, you know. It wasn't like a normal thing for me to go and see a show. So I didn't, until I was basically 18 years old, I didn't really see like a proper concert.
Wow.
And yeah, it was pretty crazy to think about that actually now. But I saw Wyclef Jean, and it was Wyclef Jean with De La Soul and Black Eyed Peas pre-Fergie. And I'm a big hip hop fan, so I like went and saw that show, and it was at my school in college, and it was like mind blowing. You know, it like blew my mind. And you know, I'm not like, I loved The Carnival by Wyclef Jean. It was that was obviously like a kind of a seminal record in that period of time. And I was big into hip hop, so it was just like seeing a show of that size and just seeing how a concert and the energy can be like something like that. And it was really cool. Yeah, probably people wouldn't guess that it was Wyclef Jean, but yeah, my first concert.
That's cool, man. My first show was Rat and Poison.
That's like so the opposite end of the like. I love like Poison. I grew up on Poison, so like I love that. Oh man, that's funny.
Glam bands was a shit. It was Rat, Motley Crue, Poison. Those were like my favorite bands when I was a kid.
Oh, those are like, I used to, when I was in 4th grade, no joke, or 6th grade, I used to listen to Motley Crue, Poison, all those bands like on my Walkman.
That's awesome.
So like Dr. Feelgood and
Shout at the Devil.
Unskinny Bop.
Unskinny Bop. Yeah.
Those are songs I just like.
There's a tape of me somewhere in a landfill or like circling somewhere in the ocean of me as an 8-year-old kid singing the entire Dr. Feelgood album front to back.
That needs to resurface.
I really do. Oh my God! Because
we need to go on a mission a la Steve Zissou to the Pacific garbage patch and find it.
Seriously, dude. Like there's somewhere there's a cassette tape of an 8-year-old kid singing "She Goes Down" and not understanding what it meant.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of innuendo in Motley Crue songs.
So much.
There's a little bit of innuendo in the Motley Crue song.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, no,
just a small.
My
amount.
mom, I'm sure, was rolling her eyes. But she let me do it. That was the coolest thing. She just let me go on doing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she was very supportive.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. Well, dude, it was awesome to talk to you. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, man. I'm honored that you thought of me to be on it. So
of course,
I appreciate it.
I've just been.
It's cool to
go ahead.
It's cool to talk about yourself for like an hour and a half.
Totally, yeah. I love talking about myself.
It's a nice ego boost for me to talk about myself for like 90 minutes to you, and you just listen.
No, it was just
thanks.
It was great to actually just, there are a lot of things I didn't know about you and the career and all that. So, and this whole thing is about, the reason why I started this thing was because I just wanted to kind of tell about, I don't know, the experience and like what new bands and new artists can expect and what to do, what not to do, kind of thing. And it's always interesting getting the perspective from other artists when I bring them on, and I think they're going to appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it because there's very few like avenues where we can even like explain those sides of things. You know, it's like normally we do these interviews and it's like a 15-minute interview where they ask you the same like 5 questions. You know,
yeah.
It's literally been that way for the entire time. You know, you get the like, oh, I'm here from the blah, blah, blah. I need to ask you, you got 15 minutes? They call you and it's like, you know, the same questions. Where does Iration come from? Where does this then? It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you have like these recycled answers that you just kind of keep going to. And it's like, this is a nice format where you can actually like delve into these stories where most people probably don't know. And I can, you know, get a little bit more in depth. I appreciate that.
Yeah, dude. No, I appreciate all the openness and everything. It's very cool. And like I said, I think everybody's gonna love listening to this.
Cool,
man. Well, have yourself a wonderful day, and I hope to see you a lot sooner than later.
Me too. Are we playing anything together soon?
You guys doing One Love?
Yeah.
What day are you doing? First day? We're doing the first day.
We're doing Sunday.
You're doing Sunday. Yeah. Okay. I might be in town. We're doing some. We might be doing some recording. I talked to Yi and those guys, and might go into their studio.
Oh, nice.
And borrow it for a few days.
Sick. Well, if you are in town, come say hi.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's.
Awesome, dude. Well, hey, take it easy,
right,
and tell everybody I said hello.
I will. Thanks, Howie. Say what's up to the guys for me
Definitely,
too.
man. All right, brother.
All right, take care, bud.
Later.
Bye.
There you have it, folks. What a good guy. It's awesome. If you don't know who Iration is, you got to check them out. Great band. Out of California, they're all over the interwebs, the Instagram, think it's Iration Music is the handle. Check out their songs on Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere you consume music, they're there. These guys are definitely, they've been on this gradual come up for years, and it's really cool to see them with all the success that they've had. So congrats to those guys on the radio and everything else, man. It's been really cool to see. Thank you for listening, and more to come. I hope to catch you on the next episode of Tales from the Green Room. Please like, subscribe, leave a review, on iTunes. Rate it 5 stars if you would, to help the podcast stay up in the charts there. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.